Hey, it's Dan Morales, and this is Homebuyer Radio. This is episode number 39, and we've been answering your questions that I've been receiving from listeners of the podcast. Last week, we talked about the fact that you don't have to have perfect credit in order to be able to qualify and get a mortgage. Now, let's talk about credit in the fact that maybe you don't have credit. Maybe you don't have an established credit history because you haven't done a lot of borrowing or anything like that. So the question I get asked sometimes is, can I get a mortgage if I don't have any established credit history? And of course, the answer to that is yes, you can get a mortgage. Just means we have to do a little more documentation, right? We've got to be able to document that you have the ability to repay the loan. And usually one of the best ways to be able to document that is to be able to show an established credit history for a client. Now, in a case when you don't have an established credit history, then usually what a lender is going to look for is some form of alternative credit history or some form of alternative documentation of your ability to repay the loan. Okay, that can be done a couple of different ways. One of the ways that I like to be able to do it is, somebody who doesn't have a ton of credit, in many cases has done a really good job of managing their money, which usually means that they have an established savings pattern. And what I mean by an established savings pattern is that you have a history of being able to save money on a regular basis. At the beginning of the year, maybe you had $5,000 in a bank account, and at the end of the year, maybe you had, $10,000 or $15,000 in a bank account. That shows that you had a regular history of saving money, which means that you likely have a pretty good ability of being able to repay a mortgage because you've been able to show a regular, history or pattern of saving money. Alternative credit can be verified by being able to show a regular, payment on something that's maybe not reported to a credit report. That can be something like a cell phone or car insurance or utilities or other things like that typically don't report to a credit reporting agency. A lot of times you can verify those things to show an established payment history. Of course, one of the biggest one of those is rent. If you're somebody who is renting currently and you're looking to buy a house and you have an established savings pattern, you have a good rental payment history, and you can document a payment history of making payments on utilities and, let's say cell phone and car insurance and, good stuff like that, then you can typically, find a way to be able to get a mortgage done. One of the good things is Fannie Mae recently made some changes as well, too, in regards to their automated scorecard when a client doesn't have an established history in order to be able to qualify for a mortgage. So it is not, as hard as maybe what it used to be. It's probably not quite as easy as what it used to be either. Prior to the housing bubble, it was pretty easy to get a mortgage. So it's not maybe quite as easy as that. But things have certainly gotten a little bit easier, compared to what they used to be, previously. And if you don't have an established credit history, in many cases, you can find a way to get a mortgage done. But just know that it might take a little bit longer, and it's certainly going to require more documentation on your part in order to be able to help us document that you have a reasonable ability to repay the mortgage when it's all said and done. Again, my name is Dan Morales with North Point Bank. My NMLS number is 709729. We lend throughout, for the most part, the entire 50 states in the U.S., and we'd love to have the opportunity to work with you. Obviously, we provide this podcast to give you a lot of information and hopefully educate you about the home buying process. And when you get ready to do that, we want to make sure that when you get ready to move forward, that hopefully you use us for your mortgage. So again, my name is Dan Morales. You can reach me at 616-931-4629. You can find me on the web at danmorales.com. That's DANMORALEZ.com. And of course, North Point Bank is an equal housing lender.